Hello, I'm Michael Wine. Welcome to this build along. I'm building Pyar, which is a fantasy world for my upcoming novel that I'm going to be writing. I'm building the world in Realm Stitch, which is an app that I designed. And you can also now buy it at realmstitch.com for $24.99 if you so choose. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out. It's been fun starting to working on this project. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Right now you can see I have, this is kind of the current plot thread that I'm working on. It's the purge plot thread, and the first thing that I want to change is it's actually not supposed to be the purge plot thread. The purge is, I did not mean to move that, did I? The purge actually happens before this. This is actually the founding of Shadow Village plot thread. So what happens is a bunch of people, a bunch of humans run away from Lanath. They cross this lake here. They run all the way up here, and they found this village called Shadow in the far north. So what I'm going to do right now is, the very first thing I'm going to do is change this to founding of Shadow. So now plot thread is founding of Shadow. There we go. And this order looks wonky because it's reading the story order, like the reading order. But if I set it chronologically, you can see what happened chronologically there. All right, I'm just going to add the purge as a plot thread back, even though I don't really have anything for that yet. But let's, I guess, set it to this red color. Okay, so what I need to do today, kind of a goal that I have, is to figure out exactly what happens to these people. So just kind of recap from the last video. This event happens. The Lanath humans flee the purge, and we have all of these people. These are there's more people than this that flee, but these are kind of like the 5 main characters that run. And they run up to this ferry across the lake, and they think that they're safe in this town called Splinterwood. But in Splinterwood, they basically live there for maybe a couple years, and then they get chased out again for some reason. So one of the big goals for this session is just figuring out why they were chased out of here, what made them leave Splinterwood and go up further north. So that's what we're working on. So they arrived in Splinterwood year 4251, and they founded Shadow in year 4253. So from when they arrived in Splinterwood to when they founded Shadow is 2 years. So I'm thinking that this journey north and down and up, I'm going to say it takes, well, let's go ahead and measure the distance real quick just to get a feel for it. So, let me just exit this. So this is 177 miles. 177 miles. I think I'm just going to do some math real quick. 177 miles. I mean, let's just say they can walk 8 miles a day. I mean, they could probably walk a lot more than 8 miles a day. but with stops and everything, maybe a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to get up here. So really they're in Splinterwood for about 2 years. So I think it's still clicking around. All right. So I think I'm going to say 1F humans flee Splinterwood. And it would be 4253. All right. 4253. And in Shadow is founded on day 182. So I said like 2 to 3 weeks, so I guess we'll call it like 20 days before this. So it would be about 160. Call it 161. So that gives you 21 days, which is 3 weeks. So 3 weeks later, they got up here and they settled here. I might adjust this if I think it needs more time. So the question is, what made them flee? So I had a couple of ideas. One idea is obviously there could be some danger in the forest. This forest, the history of this forest is, if we go all the way back to the rending. So the moment the world kind of changed, this was a forest, unnamed because there's no people around. But as we continue to progress time, it expands to be Howenwood. And the reason it's called that is because it is predominantly filled with wolves. So there's tons of wolves in this forest. They're the apex predator of this forest right now. So it's called Howenwood. Kind of sounds like howling. So that's why I did that. And then as it grows, it gets bigger and it turns to Hollandwoods, which is kind of the evolution of the name. And it's still full of wolves, but over here there's more creatures there. So anyway, where was I going with the history of this forest? Oh yes, I was gonna say that when we get to the situation in Splinterwood, I'm thinking maybe there's like this magic, or not magical, maybe there's this problem in the forest that causes people to leave. Maybe wolves attack. Like, can you imagine if like 50 wolves attacked a village? It'd be pretty crazy. Could be something else. Maybe there's a lake monster that comes out, like a magical beast or something. Maybe another idea I had was there's a group of marauders from the North Mountains that come down into the forest, like right around here. Could travel down and they could scour this lake for people to pillage. And that causes them to flee again. A lot of options here. I'm feeling more like not doing running away from people because they have already been running away from people down here. So it would be probably more interesting of a story to have some other sort of event happen. In fact, I kind of like the ancient evil beast idea of the lake, because this world is is magical. There is magic in this world. I just haven't figured out exactly how or what the magic is. But again, the whole problem here was that this this city with all these outposts, OP just stands for outpost. But this city of Tehran became a magical weapon. And when that magical weapon exploded, it did this to the world. So, uh, yeah, I like the idea of there being some sort of ancient magical creature that has been kind of undiscovered. But this lake, there is no lake here. So where did that lake come from? You know? And I think I'm going to say that during this cataclysm, it caused some sort of collapse. The water, I mean, like, think of the tidal waves, right? Like, the tidal waves caused by this explosion, this massive explosion right here, washed up over this entire region, you know, created a swamp here, created lakes here in the lowlands. And what if that explosion, and the tidal waves it caused launched, like, deposited some sort of creature, or it deposited a small version of the creature into this lake. And along with that explosion, there was a release of magical. Again, I'm fuzzy on what the magic is, but let's just say for a minute that the the magic permeated the water of this lake, and that whatever that small creature was, or those small creatures, they sat there for thousands of years. Maybe they went into hibernation. Maybe they just existed on the bottom floor of the lake, growing quietly. Um, what I really should do is draw some rivers feeding this lake, because there are no rivers feeding this lake. I just realized that. So this lake would definitely dry out over time if there were no rivers. So I'm gonna make uh kind of just some lines here. So that we can have some rivers. Did not mean for it to be dashed. Okay, so now there are some rivers feeding the lake. I'm just gonna add another one, and there we go. Make this one a little bigger, maybe. Okay, so make this one a little bigger too. I got some large rivers feeding the lake from the northern mountains. So all the snow melting keeps these lakes alive, which is fine. Later, I can always. The nice thing is, I can always go back into Wondercraft and add nicer looking rivers later, and then re-upload the image, so that all this gets replaced by nicer looking art, but all of my places will stay there. So at least I won't lose anything by doing that. But this kind of helps me just see where the rivers need to go. So this adds another dimension because uh, because they have to cross this river, which is always fun. I mean, this is a big river. Like this river has to be large because it's feeding this massive lake. So crossing this river with a group of people, especially if you're being chased, I mean that does add something in favor of the marauders from the north chasing them across the river. But it could be something like it doesn't have to be that intense. Again, this is just a backstory for my story that I'm for my novel. I'm just trying to create the backstory here, but it's fun to think like because one of the reasons I'm doing this is because it gives me material for prequels. Like if I already have an interesting story, like how these people got to Shadow, that could be a whole novel. So I'm trying to at least lay the foundation for what would make an interesting story for that. So I'm gonna go with creatures from the lake. I think that's more interesting, and it gives them a reason why they would go north. Um, because they're trying to get away from this lake, and there's no other way to go. Like if they go this way, it's just going to take them deeper into the forest, and there's the lake is always there. But if they go north, they can try to get away from the lake. Um, so yeah, okay. So Lake Ingram. So actually, I can actually make creatures. So I can just make this creature. So now now comes the hardest part for me. Whenever I do this, the hardest part is thinking of a name. So I'm gonna think of this name real quick. Okay, I thought of the name and I had paused the recording because it takes me a while to think of names. And I thought of the name Minotaur for now. Minotaur. I don't know. I don't really know why. I just thought of that name. Minotaur. Kind of sounds like Minotaur. So maybe that's where I got it from. But Minotaur is um, ancient creature of the ocean deposited. Uh, ancient creature of the ocean. Some were deposited in Lake Ingram at the Rending and mutated by magical essence in the water over 1,000 years. Okay. So now we can add this to events, which is pretty cool. So we can go back to here and we can say, add an event here. I need to remember when I need to add this event though. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So Shadow was founded 1453, 182. Oh yeah, and they fled Splinterwood 161 of 4253. So let's say the creatures kind of wake up, and then a week later they attack the village. Creatures wake up, a week later they attack, and then they flee. So 7 days before this event, right? So 154. Day 154 of 4253. That's when I want that. So if I add an event here, 4253 of day 154 will be Minotaur creatures wake up. They wake up, or they surface. They surface the lake. They start, because I'm thinking they were probably hibernating. They went into some sort of long magical hibernation. So I'm just gonna say they woke up. So they woke up about a week before they attack. Oops, I forgot to add the thing. Creatures, we're going to add Minotaur. Founding of Shadow, plot thread. This one is going to be Founding of Shadow. Minotaur is involved. And then we're adding all of our characters. Figget, Hannah, Jolin, Lorna, Old Yuza, no. Shreff. There we go. So then, Splinterwood, the Lawnath humans flee Splinterwood on day 161, which is basically the same day as, but it's going to happen later in the day, like hour 15. New event here would be Minotaur attack Winterwood. 161. So that's a little bit before. I'm not going to add the exact time. Actually, maybe I will. Maybe they'll attack like early in the morning, like 3 a.m. And they fight. So the villagers fight for most of the day, and then they can fight for like 12 hours, but then it's a lost cause. They lose. They have to run away. Minotaur, Founding of Shadow, add all of our characters. Save. There we go. So now we can look at Founding of Shadow thread chronologically. And there you go. Kind of a cool little blip here. So they flee to Ingram Ferry, they get to Splinterwood, and then this happens. And then they have to run. Great. So this is going to be the next kind of event where they have to cross the river. So I'm going to put that right here. Ford. Now I have to think of a name for this river. Why is thinking of names always so hard? I'll call it, it's Splinter Wood. So, sorry, the river is feeding the lake where Splinterwood is by. So maybe that doesn't matter. I'm just trying to think of connections. Like what would this river be called? Like the only people around who would name this river are the people of Splinterwood. So they would obviously really like this river because it feeds the lake, which gives them fish and a food supply. So they would name this river something. What would they call it? It's coming from the north. It's coming from the mountains. The mountains, yeah, it could be something like um, breaching, breaching ford. So this river could be called breaching river. Honestly, I don't really know where the word breaching came from. It just kind of came to me. I don't know. I just kind of like the name breaching, river breaching. It's a cool name. I'm gonna give it an icon. Maybe I have a. By the way, these icons are made by the artists of GameIcons.net. So you can go to that website. It's a great website, free, free icons. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, I'm just trying to find a good icon for a river crossing. I mean, this one is kind of, it's a shuriken, but oh, here's a river icon. I could just use that. That's a good one. Reaching forward. Okay. So, and they can get up there in probably a few days after leaving Splinterwood because they're scrambling. So, I mean, it's not that far, is it? From here, as the crow flies. It's kind of far. I mean, 45 miles is. I mean, if you walk all day, you can get there in 2 days. So I would say they probably walk. The first day, they're tired from all the fighting. So I'm gonna say probably day 163, day 164 of year 4253. They cross this ford. So we add an event. Crossing the ford. 4253, day 164. World time is computed. This does not involve the minute. Well, it might be interesting if there was a minotaur that kind of came up this river, like swam upstream and followed them, or it followed them from the village. That would actually make it more exciting. Founding of Shadow. Add all the characters. You know what would be cool? I just thought of it would be a cool quality of life improvement to pick a plot thread and then all the characters that are in that plot thread immediately get added to the event. That would be a cool quality of life. I wonder if that could work. I'll have to look into that for the app. Anyway, crossing the ford now has an event. So if we go to plot thread, founding of shadow, switch to chronological order. Now we see that it's there. So we go from Lawnath to the ferry to Splinterwood. We have events 3, so 3 and then 4, and 5 through 6 happen here. And then up to Breaching Ford and then to Shadow. So it's kind of cool. We can zoom in. Nice. All right. That's it's been about 30 minutes, so I think that's it for this video. That was pretty fun. We just got a quick little world building session in. Kind of set up a cool creature of the lake. We created some lore of how it got there, what happened at Splinterwood to cause him to leave, and we got to add that. Thought of a new idea for a feature, so pretty good session for me. I think I'm really enjoying this process of just kind of having fun building this world. Again, my name is Michael Wine. I'm building this world, Pyar, with this app that I designed, Realm Stitch, and I finally was able to get it up on a website. So if you want to use this app for your own world building, you can actually buy it for 25 bucks. It's well, $24.99 on realmstitch.com. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. And also any feedback, just comment on these videos. It'd be really great and helpful. So thanks for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe. It would help out a lot. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.